This is the 22nd season of Bass Talk Live. BTL is presented by Bass Cat Boats, Strike King Lures, AFTCO, Pro Guide Batteries, Spro, Gamakatsu, The Bass Tank, Beatdown Outdoors, and Sunline.
BTL coming at you.
Good afternoon and welcome to a lunch edition of BTL Bass Talk Live, where we are going to talk about bass fishing. The urchin craze has officially reached new heights. We'll talk about some urchining with our guest today. There may not be an urchin big enough to twitch in front of the face of the bass that he is targeting. Had a little bit of a pre-show meeting, and I didn't even get to that. I have urchin circled down here. I'm curious as to if the fish south of the border are urchin eaters. We'll get to that. But ICAST kicks off this week. A lot of guys going to ICAST, a lot of guys not going to ICAST. We'll have some special ICAST editions. If you're not subscribed, if you're not subscribed and have your notifications turned on, doing some stuff with Dave Rush from Best on Tour. He'll be at ICAST. Right now, I think the plan is to do kind of a three separate shows, kind of like electronics, terminal stuff, cool stuff that isn't actually baits. And Dave is currently, for the next 2 days, will be kind of stalking the ICAST floor, putting that together, and then we'll show all those products, and then we'll do a soft baits, and then we'll do a hard bait show too. So you guys will get a chance to see what's going on live on the ICAST floor with Dave Rush. Also, don't forget, Thursday is the 250th day 4 show with Frank Scalish. It's hard to believe we've done 250 of those shows. We're giving away 5 $50 LureNet gift cards for that. So if you go on last week's show, you can either leave a comment on what some of your favorite clips over the last 250 day 4 shows are. If you're listening on iTunes, you can leave that in the comment section there, or also we'll give away some live 3 of the gift cards live on the 250th show. That's because 5 $50 gift cards equals 250. So that's $1 for every show. So that's how we came up with the 5 shows. And then I'm working on it. So for some reason I have established a superstition, and I have dumped about 90% of my superstitions from what it was 6 years ago. It took me like 15 minutes to get ready before every blast off by the time I had done all my little superstitions to get ready. But I have developed what I would call a Smalley stash superstition, and I cannot grow facial hair or a mustache. Like if you watch on a regular basis, you'll see this is like a month plus that I've been working on. So I'm shaving this off. I told Cord, I said, we need some Just for Men to darken this up again. And I will have the Smalley stash as we head to the Bass Nation Regional on Lake Champlain. There's a MLF Pro Circuit event as they wrap up their season there that kicks off the week before. And then we're headed up to Champlain. But man, I feel like the hook to land ratio, I feel like you catch more of those 4 to 4 1/4 pounders when you got just a really dirty Smalley stash going. Maybe not. Someplace you don't really need any superstitions to catch big bass. That's down in Mexico. We have them on about every 6 months. We do a trip once a year. We're doing 2 trips. Well, technically one's in 2027, but in 2026 down to Pro Bass Adventures, Josh Daniels. And we're just going to get this out of the way before I bring him in. He is not in front of a green screen. That is actually Lake Baccarac behind him. He can move around. We'll have him put like 3 fingers in front of his face or whatever just to show. But there he is right there. Josh Daniels, thanks for jumping on. I appreciate it.
Happy to be on again. It's good to see you, Matt.
Best bat, like rivals, like when you have Kevin Van Dam on and it's like his 19 Bassmaster champion, 19 Bassmaster covers in the background, or Jacob Wheeler where he like has his trophy cases are full and then he's got all the rest of them on the bottom below it. I don't know. That's a pretty hard scenery to beat behind you. What, like if you were to break it down, like north, south, like lower end, upper end, like what part of Baccarac are you looking at behind you right there from the Pro Bass Adventures lodge?
Yeah, this is the south end, where the town of Baccarac, which is what the Mexicans refer to the lake as Baccarac. Rumor is that the gringos couldn't say it right and it somehow became Baccarac, and that stuck years ago. But this is a little town. It's got 300 people. So it's small, all blue collar kind of Catholic folks, and on the south corner. And then the lake's pretty expansive. It goes about 15 miles north. There's a river section. It's about 5 miles wide, and it gets a little riverine with some snakes and turns the further north you go. So we're on the very south end of the lake.
And percentage wise that it's full, I know the rainy season, or the, what do you call it, it's the wet season is coming up.
It is.
Like,
Yeah,
is it
monsoon
high right
season.
now? It looks green as hell behind you.
It's so 2 weeks ago I was here, and then I had to go back home and work. Home is Phoenix, and I came back just the other day, and it was completely brown. It still looked like the desert, and that just shows you like spring here's a little later. Once the monsoons hit, it turns green and the lake starts filling up. So we had our first substantial rains about 2 weeks ago, a week and a half ago, and it just turns green like the jungle overnight. So these mountains are getting a lot of rain back here. There is a river that flows into the north side, and that's pumping a lot of water in the lake. So it's raising about 6 inches to a foot every day. So it's a little different every day that you go out. Yeah, it's significant.
So what's the fluctuation then on Baccarac, like for a year? Like, are we talking like a where it literally like drops and raises like dozens of feet?
Monstrous. So a typical year starts between 50 and 70, 80%. That's pretty average. We do get years where it goes up to 100, or we start even in the 40s. But 99% of our rain is in these 2 months, late July, August, September, in the monsoon season. And it will drop. They're slowly pulling water for irrigation, hydroelectric power generation through a dam. Irrigation has stopped May 15th, and then that resumes on September 15th. So now it's just hydroelectric power. So that's a fraction, not very much water is being pulled. But from the high season, October, after the monsoon subside, till the following July, it's a slow drop, no real rain or contributions. It can drop 80 to even 100 linear feet. It looks like an entirely different lake, new islands. You'll look from one trip to the next and see that point you were fishing last trip way up out of the water. So it can drop 6 inches to 8 inches a day, January, February, March, when they're really pulling a lot of water for the all the crops that are being grown downstream.
Okay. So that explains why all your, not all of them, but especially your old school guides, like, you know, when they do the cast here part, they don't need mapping because they literally see it every year, especially if they're working tilapia nets or anything too. Like, they literally know with their eyeballs what they're having you cast to that's in 20 feet of water right now.
Yeah, it's remarkable. It's extremely impressive how they can, through triangulation of this mountain point, that little tree over there, know that there's a 20 by 30 island top right here that has big fish. And they can tell by the water level how deep it's going to be within 5 feet. It's really incredible. And now that they have sonar, that's made them even more precise with finding it. And maybe the fish aren't right on the crest today. We beat them up. They're over on the slope. You can chase those fish and beat them up longer day after day. So it's pretty neat.
Do they, so like Grand Lake, like if that sucker starts coming up, like those fish are like nose on the bank as they come up, like a willow tree that was a foot out of the water 2 days ago will have 3 on it as soon as there's enough water on it. Do these fish follow the water up like this as well?
Yeah. Because at first it turns green quickly, and then the little grasses and shrubs start to grow, and then they flood, and then those tilapia and all the bait fish get in there eating the insects and the green leafy material, and the bass follow. So if it's a slow, steady raise, their shallow fishing lights up, even if the water's 85, 90 degrees. But if it comes up, we get some storms where it might shoot up 10 feet overnight. That can make them pull off and suspend. That can make them pull off and suspend a little bit. But it's been a consistent contribution now. The lake's pretty stable, and we're catching some big fish, a lot of them.
So that's probably helps to contribute to the size of the fish, not only the year-round growing season, where I would imagine your water temps don't get below 70, correct, even in the wintertime, but also what I've always been told, correct me if I'm wrong here, green equals energy. So you can look at like Falcon, you can look at the boom of Amistad, you can look at other booms where they've had droughts, things have grown in, there's a lot of green, there's a lot of leafy, that's like things that things can eat, that's energy, that's things going into the water. So it looks like everything gets green when everything's come down, and then it comes up every year. So you mix out the growing season with so much energy being pumped into the lake consistently every single rainy season, and now you have the nutrients, the bait fish, and the energy that is needed to produce some of the biggest fish in the world.
Exactly. And this fishery is a little unique, and I think that hits even harder because we have no aquatic vegetation here. It's clean. You've seen it. There's no weeds.
Yeah.
There's no algae.
It's enjoyable to fish.
Yeah, there's no scum anywhere. And I'm not sure if that's the tilapia picking everything clean or it just never was introduced and grew here. So the only green vegetation, leafy material is during rising water and flooding the terrestrial plants that get flooded. And I think that gets a lot of insects and lizards and bugs in the water as well, and rinses some nutrient in.
Now there is stuff at El Salto though.
There is. That's true. A little different environment. It's a hyacinth. They call them lilies. Hyacinth. They're not a lily. And it's abundant there. It grows in mats, and the wind blows it around. And then
there's no hyacinth at Baccarac, are there?
No, they pull it out. It once in a while flows in through the river, but the tilapia crew, we share the lake with a commercial tilapia fishery that net. They despise it because it clogs the net. So if they see it flowing through the river at Baccarac, they sound the alarm. Every boat goes out and they rip it up on the bank and burn it and get rid of it. Yeah, so like it's not present in Baccarac, but it's nice at El Salto. Give some cover. We don't have that here at Baccarac.
Yeah. Well, one of the reasons I want to get you on, we had a great trip to Baccarac last year that was supposed to be at El Salto. El Salto has been closed for the last year and a half
That's correct.
to what do you call it? Sport fishing, commercial? Like what is it deemed in Mexico, like bringing the groups down?
Yeah, pesca esportiva. So it's we're the sport fishing entity.
Okay.
The fishermen who are going for largemouth bass, and then there's a commercial fishing entity. So each of these lakes has two entities that share the lake, and the commercial fishing entity are primarily tilapia, African species that was stocking these lakes back in the 70s and 80s that are netted by locals and sold to the local food markets. Great source of employment, great source of food for the local communities as well, and candy for the bass. So there is a giant breeding facility here at Baccarac. It's the biggest tilapia breeding facility in North America, and it's in the tailwaters just beneath the dam. They diverted some water, and there's a number of football field size little man-made lagoons where they're breeding tilapia in various stages of growth. They breed 30 million a year. 8 million are stocked. Yeah, 8 million are stocked here in Baccarac. And the rest are distributed throughout Western Mexico lakes to be stocked. El Salto and others, they sell them there. So they are naturalized now. There's enough tilapia in this lake that they'd never go extinct. But to keep the catch counts high, they're constantly stocking millions and millions more. And the bass know when the truck comes, kind of like the trout trucks in California when they used to stock the fingerling guys. You can see them sharking and blowing up. They cook a giant pipe, like a 12 to 18 inch up to a container on the back of a truck that's just full of water from the hatchery and young tilapia, and they open a knife valve and it just dumps them all in, and they do that semi-regularly throughout the season here.
Can I know you sent me a video of it. Can I show that video?
I'd love that. Yeah, dude.
I'll just show it right here, but that's
yeah, hold it up. So you can see that pipe that's gushing water out. That's just chock full of tilapias, everything from 2 to 4 inches that they're stocking in there. Sometimes they stock bigger ones, but that side's common. So it's a neat program here. We pay a generous amount of taxes, which we should, to use this, and it's based on the number of clients we have every year. A good percentage goes to support this local community, the infrastructure, the schools, the churches like the Red Cross. So we donate a lot of money there, but it also supports that program and the stocking program to get all those fish in that those bass are eating, and it's helping us enjoy abundant big fish. I mean, you've seen the number of 10 plus pounders in this lake per acre. It might be higher than any lake on the planet. As far as population density of trophic class fish, it's remarkable. So, some people, my first trip here, I wasn't too fond of the nets. I saw it as a nuisance, but now I realize it's a necessary part of how this ecosystem operates, and has been able to do so at a peak level for decades, and really consistently been at the top 10 of all the lakes in the world for decades now.
That is called a symbiotic relationship.
It is,
because you bring in, or the lodge brings in people, you pay the taxes, it helps to go to the tilapia, that they can grow the tilapia they can put in the lake, that helps build a giant bass, that brings in more tax dollars for the people who come to catch the giant bass, and then the thing goes and they get the tilapia and we get the giant bass, and there you go.
And another thing,
I simplify it, but that's basically how it works, isn't it?
it's a very accurate way to describe it. Necessary, it makes a long-term sustainable atmosphere for tourism, fishing, resiliency. And the other thing is the netting is they're small nets and it's heavily regulated. They're going for tilapia, but they do cull some small bass, which is good for trophy fishery. But once in a while, a big bass hits it and gets wrapped up. So part of the money goes in the slush fund for the tilapia fisherman with the net who discovers this double digit in his net. And if he videotapes it, ripping that net and it swimming away, he gets a cash bonus that night that's double the market value. So there's no incentive to keep a giant bass, which it's tough to ask someone to do in this area of the world, to get a big protein and let it go. I mean, it's got some monetary value and some table fare value. So it gives them an incentive to let them go, and we pay bonuses. So based on that, this lake has that program. It's the only one in Mexico that does, and that might be why Baccarac produces so many more double digits than all the other lakes, is that release program. I think last year around 2,000 bonuses were paid. So 2,000 10-plus pounders returned to the lake that otherwise would have been harvested. Decade-old program. Think how many trophy class fish
and last year you guys caught almost 200 or almost 450 double digits just from Pro Bass Adventure. So if you take that 2,000, that's like 2,500 10-pounders that people touched on Baccarac last year.
We did 430 double digits. So I like numbers. I like data. So I'm always tracking. I want metrics. 430 for our clients, including myself. Mine are in there too. Caught for our entity last year. Now this year, the pace has exploded since January. We're already at 352. So knowing that we have till December, I think we'll shatter last year's record.
You'll hit 500 easy.
Yeah, we're going to keep pushing that up year after year. Here's the thing. I just printed flyers with 430. Now I got to do another run with the new number. These are good problems to have, right?
Yeah. One of the reasons I want to get you on, I mentioned it a little. We've been kind of teasing it. We're 18 minutes in, but El Salto, you kind of have put some stuff out on social media. There's been some rumblings about it. Just kind of start from the beginning to where, I mean, El Salto, everybody had been going down to El Salto. It was closed for a year and a half, and you kind of announced it starting in September. I know you've been down there before, but it'll kind of return to business as usual on El Salto with people coming down and catching giant fish again like they have for the past decades. Yeah.
So El Salto's Baccarac's actually an older lake, but Lake El Salto has been more popular and had more tourists because of its proximity to bigger cities with airports. And it's a fantastic lake, just consistent fishing, lots of big fish. A few less 10-pounders than here at Baccarac, but without a doubt, the two best trophy bass lakes currently in Mexico. El Salto had a beautiful peak 23 and 2024, and then some bad stuff had happened. We should be transparent. There were some groups fighting that were too close to the lake in the area. There were times where people on the water fishing, and you could even hear gunshots out in the mountains. It was not a place that tourists should be. So we made the decision along with the local government to close the lake about a month ago. And it's been a year and a half. It's been closed now. About a month ago, the local governing body reached out and said, hey, there's been no issues in the area many, many months, about a year. We feel we've done our due diligence there's no more problems in the area. And we feel comfortable having tourists in the area again. So you guys, the outfitters, you have the green light to proceed and open. So I kind of kept that. I didn't want to make an announcement day one. I had to get down there myself. I had to take boats out myself. I had to fish it myself, and talk with the locals in the area, talk with the Tilapia Federation, make sure they feel comfortable resuming their netting schedule, and the other entities. And I feel we've done our due diligence. We've got the green light. There are boats on the water fishing it now. There's no commercial outfitters, but there's some local Mexicans and retired American expats who have boats who've been fishing it regularly for over a month, and I've spoken with them, and the fishing's been great. As you would imagine, a top 10 global lake having no boats for a year and a half, it could be the perfect recipe for a peak, unlike anything any lake's ever seen. So everybody's really excited to get on the lake. I am too. but safety is always first. So I've
Mhm.
been down there checking everything out, and I feel comfortable making the announcement. We're taking reservations for next season now, and we hope that things can resume and just get back to good old El Salto. I mean, it's a fantastic lake. It's an incredible fishery.
So the game plan is for starting in September, taking groups down, just like at the lodge, flying into Mazatlan, get picked up by the Pro Bass Adventure buses, stop and get burritos halfway along the way, roll in,
Yeah.
fish for 4 or 5 days, 40 pounds in the morning, 45 pounds in the afternoon, and just like it had been in 22, 23, 24.
Yep.
Except
September,
maybe bigger.
I think bigger. Yeah, I do. I think this has been two totally uninterrupted spawns. Bass that have zero conditioning or pressure. And it was already peaking in a wild way before the closure. We had 100 double digits September of 24 through February of 25. So we smashed them through there, and then it closed. So I can only imagine it was already peaking so well for big fish. I mean, people are excited. There's a waiting list. People really wanted to come. People have reached out regularly asking about the lake because it's part of people's annual vacation routines. There's been guys who've gone to El Salto once or twice a year for 20, 30 years. So a lot of people are anxious to get back on the water, and we're happy to get to employ some work, and the guides are itching to get back out there. They've been fishing some. We've been getting them out there with a little gas stipend to catch some fish and put some fish in the boat. So we're excited to get it rolling. September 25th will be the official opener for us. But the lake is open, so there are some Mexican locals fishing in now.
How many guys have tried to be the first? Because I know, like Kevin Rogers. Kevin Rogers would do whatever it takes to be the first on that lake with a 9-inch glide.
I just spoke with him the other day. He just signed.
Shocker.
He just signed.
He
just signed up. Great fisherman.
Yeah,
and he sure knows how to catch them at El Salto. I've been made offers that were difficult to refuse. Right?
Yeah.
Just let me on there. I'll sign any waiver in the world. I'm like, guys, I can't put you on there without the government's permission. But that's how exciting it is, because I think this is the first. I don't know of any real lakes of this caliber that have ever had a total cessation of boat fishing pressure, for this long. So
and it's not like it got tons of pressure before. There are several operations that were out of there. Yours are out of there. You have a 25 max, so that's 12 boats a day, basically 12 to 15 boats a day from you. You add it, you're talking less than 30 boats a day on that. Little bit less pressure when there's nets out. There's rainy seasons where it's shut down. I mean, it's having been there, it's not like those fish got pressure. I mean, you would look at a saddle and there'd be 30 of them. You catch 25 of the 30 and they'd all be over 6 pounds. So, I mean, just let your mind wander, Josh, and you've been on that lake. So like the very first time I came, tons of 4s and 5s. An 8-pounder was a big one that first trip. You'd said that's just kind of the cycle of it is. The next year, 5s, 6s, several more heavy 8s, low 9s. And then in 24, that last year we were there, it was like a plethora of 6.5 to 7.5 pounders with a lot of low to mid 8s and like 6 or 7 9s and 2 10s. And you could literally watch it like bloop, 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 like life cycle in it, bait. Like, am I wrong? And I know I mean, it's legitimately, am I wrong to think that all those are they dead? Did they age out on that? Or is it like 8s, 9s, and 10s with like 11s now?
Yeah, I think that's where my mind goes. And like a lot of fisheries, there's classes of higher population.
Distinct classes on El Salto.
Yeah. And then there's the 2 classes beneath it, years beneath it, will be a smaller number of fish because these are so dominant and older. And then you get to another 4 years later and there's another big class. So as those classes,
those rattle trap class.
Yeah. And as they go up into that elite trophy class, there's just an abundance of big fish, 10, 11, 12. And I think timing wise with those fish we were beating on before the closure, they're moving right into the prime years for their heaviest weights of their lifespan. And I think we're going to hit the ground running. And I would bet Baccarac's the king of double digits, but
Mhm.
I'm betting Salto's going to be right there with double digits per angler per fishing day. And that's a bold claim to make, but I wouldn't be surprised if it even maybe took the edge for a year or two, as far as double digit production per angler per fishing day. I like to kind of get the metrics on it. So I'll
Do you,
report back with the numbers. I'm excited to see him come in.
do you think Baccarac will always have more heavier double digits, 11s, 12s, 13s than El Salto just because of how it's designed, the way the fishery is made up, or will El Salto always be more consistent 40 to 45 pound bags, whereas Baccarac is always going to have your potential for teeners, or could El Salto get to that as well? I mean, we're talking like crazy stuff here, but it's honestly, like, you've seen the trips, you've seen the pictures. If you follow BTL, you know this is true. So it's a logical question to ask.
It really is. The ceiling's higher at Baccarac as far as 55-pound bags. There's been insane bags
Is
caught
that
here
depth,
this
bait,
year.
genetics?
I think it's a bigger lake. It's deeper. Salto's smaller and shallower. There's less deep water. And then the program we just mentioned with the double-digit release program, right? El Salto doesn't have that. So from an operating perspective, the outfitters, we pay a lot less taxes at El Salto versus Baccarac, way less. So convincing the other outfitters there that, hey, we should pay more taxes and start this program like we have at Baccarac, and it'll make the future even better. I don't think I could be successful proposing that to people I'm competing against to get them to agree to making a program like that. But in the absence of that program, it's inevitable that at Lake El Salto, there are double digits getting caught in the net. And when they do, are they being released? No, they're being called out. And based on understandably, you can't be upset about it. These are people trying to feed their family, and it's a large protein source. They worked all day for this fish, and they can get $10 at the market for it. I would do the same thing if I was in their position, So I think in the absence of that program, the ceiling for El Salto will be by default just a little bit lower. And I'm just talking about a pound on average across the scale. This is not a big disparity. These lakes are way more similar than different. You will catch double digits at El Salto. There's plenty of them in there. We get some 12s each season, and there's occasional 13s. It's just when we divide the number per angler per fishing day, Baccarac produces more. But there's no guarantee. The disparity at Baccarac is that she does this. I mean, she gets red hot, and then she gets a little tough, and then she gets red hot, whereas Lake El Salto is, we call it lake consistent. So trophy anglers who people want to shake the dice. The guys who like the high rollers table go to Baccarac, and then the people who want to have a good time, and more of a sure thing. There's no sure things in fishing. El Salto's a no-brainer, easy travel. They eat a variety of different baits. You come in at lunch, and everybody caught them on something different. Versus Baccarac, we're in here at lunch, putting the pieces of the puzzle together, trying to figure out that big fish bite. So they fish different.
I haven't been to El Salto when it actually has a lot of water in it. Darren, my buddy Darren, has, like, he's like, I remember, catching a 7-pounder on a spook on that fence row up there or over there and stuff. Like, is this year setting up to where there's actually going to be more water in El Salto than we've seen in the past couple of years?
I'm glad you asked that. Last rainy season, we got a large amount of rain at both lakes. So Baccarac started at 76, I believe, which doesn't sound high, but that's high. That's a generous amount of water. This year, our lowest point hit 24%, versus last year was down to 12%. So Baccarac's up, and it's already raised about 32% from the rains in just the last 2-3 weeks. So it's coming up. Salto last year started at 100%. It was full. It was actually going over the spillway. That rock wall by the island as you're heading out? It got to the top of that and was going over it.
Really? How close was it to the El Salto sign?
It was up over the bottom of it. It was submerged.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, it was. It was that
high.
Holy
smokes.
Those little the tilapia fishermen build little shacks and tents on the hill so they don't have to burn gasoline and go all the way home. They stay the night there, play guitars while they're checking their nets and stuff. And some of those were even getting flooded. The water was that high at El Salto. So the low point now at El Salto was about 45%, which is what we start at some years. So it's not going to take much rain to get her full again. It's going to be, I anticipate, near full starting next season at Lake El Salto, which is a good thing for long-term health of the lake. There's a lot of lilies, so there'll be a lot of cover. It fishes like two different lakes. There's a ton of decades, 50-year-old trees in the bottoms of these lakes. So as the water gets lower, there's more and more trees, and when the water's higher, there's more flooded brush. So it fishes a little more offshore, deeper when the water's lower, and it fishes a little more shallow, tight to the bank when the water's higher. It's kind of a generalization there.
Okay, here's just a quick for those who don't know. So, like when you're going out from the lodge, there's like this badass sign that says like El Salto. That everyone, your whole goal is to like catch a 8-pounder on a pop bar right in front, and then have as the sun going down or coming up, the El Salto in the background. That's what it looked like in 2024 when we were there, and that's like straight up.
Yeah, the water was all the way up to it.
And it doesn't impact you don't like catch less fish with more water or anything. It just gives you a lot more, like those fish get up in there and stuff. And
yeah, I don't find that the water level matters as much. What impacts the fishing is the speed at which the water rises. As long as it's slower and steadier, the fish will poke right up in there. But if she shoots up 15 feet overnight, you'll get a week or two where those fish pull off, suspend, and act a little weird. And that's where us having the technology on the boats really gives us an advantage, because it makes it easier to find those offshore fish in those scenarios.
Do either of the lakes ever get muddy?
Yeah, actually, when the river first starts chugging, which is happening here at Baccarac, it's pretty muddy. It's kicking in a lot of salt, silt. So there's this moving line of clarity through the lake. Every day it's in a different area. And it's maybe 5-foot clarity on one side, heavy tannic stain, and like 1 foot, and the two are mixing. And the fish, I kind of like the muddier water personally, because I like to scope and I can sneak a bait up on them and surprise them and get them to eat. In the clearer water, they see it coming, so you just need to be a little more precise with your presentation. Color matters a little bit, cadence matters a little more. You might need a smaller minnow or something if you want to finesse them, versus, I can get them on a swim bait and a swim jig in the muddy water. So it kind of fishes like two different fish behaviors, and they even look different. Those muddy fish, they're washed out. They're kind of yellow. You can't see the vertical bars. And then the clearwater fish are all lit up and they've got vertical bars on them. So it's kind of neat.
Frankie, live bait is just the pain in the ass. You don't really need it.
You catch less fish with live bait because of the amount of time it would cost to get it, rig it, and set it up. I know some old timers that have, but you don't need to. Shoot, there's old timers who just troll down the middle of the lake with rattle traps and 10XDs drinking beer and catch double digits at these lakes. So they're pretty fertile. You don't need live bait.
While we're talking about the baits, I got to ask, I kind of opened the show with it. Have you thrown an urchin at any of these fish yet?
I have. Yeah, I've had some good fun with that full cast. So kind of two ways that I've found effective that I like to fish it. One is up on top, like the jerk bait, the way that most guys fish it, and they go nuts for that. They really do. Here at Baccarac, a lot of the giants I see are 10 feet and deeper, so it's difficult to present to them in that scenario. So I weight it significantly, and I fish it kind of like a swim jig, or almost like a minnow, where I can get it down pretty quick. I want a pretty fast rate of fall. And then if they're sleeping or just a blob, you can get it near them and just tease them and shake the hell out of it and try to give it as much action as possible vertically without pulling it laterally away from them. And it just teases them and gets them fired up, and they'll eat it like a minnow. Fish it kind of like a minnow, shaking it. So that's the number one way for me, because this time of year, a lot of my big fish are 10 foot to 25. But it's been a great bait, because when I do that same technique with a minnow, with a swim bait, with a swim jig, I do that a lot. This is my kind of 1, 2, 3 that I hammer fish with. You move, every jump moves it more laterally towards the boat, but there's something about that full cast where you can give it so much action and it just doesn't move forward at all, and you can keep it right on their nose a little longer, and it's just elongating the cast, right? You're moving the bait from here to here to the boat, and if you can do all this in between, you just made the bait travel 10 times as far and gave them more of an opportunity, and you got the shake to kind of get them to go. So it's
So
been a very
they
effective
do
bait
eat it.
for me. Oh yeah, and they swallow 3-4 inches of line with it. They've never seen anything like it. Kind of like the minnow. I mean, these fish have never seen that
They're still
either.
hot for the minnow.
Oh, so hot for the minnow. Yeah, they don't.
What percent of guys go to
Pe-
Baccarac and minnow now?
People are blind fishing it, not even with the sonar. And I had a 12-year-old kid catch an 11-pounder on a mooch minnow, a 4.5. It was right after I had a chat with Wheeler. I was like, you wouldn't believe the way these fish react to your baits, man. It's incredible. What percentage of people see that happen and they come with their game plan, swim baits and big worms and the things they enjoy, and they do well, and we catch a lot of fish. But anytime there's a new lure on a fishery that the fish just haven't seen, it seems like there's a window of productivity. Like when the chatterbait first came down here, when the A-rig first came down here, that the fish just aren't used to it, and it mimics bait fish so well that there's guys that say, I never thought I'd come to Baccarac and end up throwing a minnow, but I did. And I caught 2 or 3 over 10, and it's just the way it played out. Some guys are throwing it even on a bait casting setup because they're throwing big minnows, and heavier heads and whatnot. So it's neat to see. And the younger kids don't have the connotation of bait caster versus spinning rod and finesse versus power. They just want to catch a fish, right? So they'll throw a minnow right at the bank. And then there's this element of, and you've probably seen this fishing, some of the good fishermen who are experienced, they have a game plan and they don't listen to the guides, versus the wife or the son. They do exactly what the guide says. So sometimes you see the kid mop them, or the wife put a bunch of giants in the boat, and the husband maybe struggles a little bit because he doesn't listen to the guide and he knows what he's doing. And this is a unique fishery, so it's entertaining. It's fun.
I think the last year when we had you on, you had just done the Kings of Baccarac, and it was like it was a tournament that you had down there. Was it like a 13-pound average or something, or 12.5-pound average to win that for the week? I know you just had that again.
It was a slugfest again. Last year was banner. It's a 3-fish bag tournament over the course of 6 days. Last year, 38-7 won it for 338-4. Was second place, and I don't recall what
the 12.5-pound average.
Yeah, so it was pretty banner. We had this year we had a little smaller of a field, which was a little bit of a disappointment, but it was okay. I have some awesome corporate groups that fish with us every year, and one of the larger groups of teams, it was 6 or 7 teams that were coming together. They are construction guys in Texas, and they landed a monstrous contract, and they're like, hey, we got to take this. We're going to come early and still fish with you, but we're going to miss it. And I didn't have time to fill the teams, so we had a few less teams, which was okay. I had a wonderful tournament this year. Winning bag 34-2 for 3 was the winning bag.
That's big over fish. An 11-pound average.
Yep. 12 pounds 11 ounces was the big fish for the tournament. Lord. 18 double digits, multiple 11-pounders. It was great. It was another great tournament for the books, and was a lot of fun to be a part of. It's something we'll do annually. Next year, 6 days in June is a lot.
That's hot.
And there were a lot of people who fished it last year and said it was the time of their lives, but it was just a long time. So next year, we're going to change the format. We're going to make it a 4-night 3-day, so like a Sunday to Thursday instead of Sunday to Sunday. But you have the option to stay the whole week, and if you do, we'll do the ceremonies or in the team portion on Thursday for 3 days. But we'll keep the big fish daily pot going for an additional, for the guys who want to stay the full kind of duration. So the tournament itself will be 4 nights 3 days next year, and then there'll be the option to stay for the full week and just have a daily big fish pot after that. And we'll still have the prizes and trophies for all of that for it as well. So it was another great tournament. A lot of big fish, couple 12s, no teeners in this tournament, but we did get some teeners the week before. So it's been a fun run. It's been a wild season.
At the Classic this past year, I know Gene Gilliland was excited because he had done he's a Bass Fishing Hall of Fame member, conservation director for BASS, and he was like, hey, the that Josh Mexico dude, right? They're like, we did a bunch of stuff down there like 20 years ago or whatever. Did anything like come of that? Did you get any like numbers or statistics or any of the stuff down there? Cause like I said, I know you're a numbers guy, and that was cool that like now, like, were there any of the things that he had done back decades ago that kind of makes sense now?
Yeah, thank you for that introduction because I was a huge person to get in my network. Gene was actually a really important part of the development of Lake Baccarac from when Billy Chapman Sr. originally arranged and funded to have the fish stocked here. Gene even knew the hatchery that those fish came from in Texas. They were pure Florida strains brought from Florida to Texas that Texas was using to stock local lakes, and then they sold some. And then Gene came down with them for the stocking and then came back, and they were doing creel surveys, netting to it's before electrofishing, it was difficult to do that logistically. And they did a number of surveys in the following years, and he taught the Mexicans here, the local governing body, how to do that themselves and how to monitor the bass per acre, their growth rate, how to check how old maybe these fish are, forage, how much you should be stocking per acre. So he was a very important person in the building and the structuring of the programs here that have allowed this Lake Baccarac to thrive. So that's a really important person in the history of Mexico bass fishing. There's a chance he might be joining us in January with your trip to Baccarac, maybe with his wife, very sweet lady. So I hope he can. And he did. He forwarded me some of those early surveys and some of the data that they had put together. Now, since the programs have been in place and they've manipulated them, they haven't done as much of the surveys that they did in the early days to develop the programs that are working. Mm-hmm. But I'm got permission from them now to resume, and hopefully we've done a lot of investment in the business lately in the local community. Next, I want to invest in maybe like some electroshock fishing boats and start doing some surveys and the neat things there and getting some more data and seeing
it's gotta be cool though, like to see the kind of original blueprints and game plan when it went down.
Yeah,
to what it is now.
Totally.
How old is a 10-pounder in Baccarac?
Thank the Lord for those pioneers that paved the way for us to be a part of something like this now. I've heard as young as 3.5 to 4 years, which seems mind blowing. Like how could they grow that quickly? But 4 years, maybe 5. 2 pounds easy per year average. Now they do go quicker on the lower span, and then the bigger they get, the slower the growth rate goes. So it might be 4 pounds even quicker than that 2 pound a year average, and then tapering down as they get bigger and bigger. But perfect recipe, warm water, abundant food for a rapid growth rate up to the trophy class, 10, 11, 12, 13. Lake Record's 19. I believe there's another one in here. We don't get a ton of the 14, 15, 16s, but we do catch, there's one that comes out every year or so. But I think part of that is that warm water and the lack of a winter phase. They're like a supernova. They blow up the trophy class really, really quick, but then their lifespan isn't that long because they just don't have a winter phase. They're constantly.
So there's a lot of 14, 15, 16 pounders that are 11 or 12. They hit it, they get there, they're healthy for a couple months, and then boom, or a year, and then they are on the bottom of the lake.
Yeah, the lifespan's shorter here than up in the United States, where they get a true winter phase. Their metabolism slows down, and that also impacts their breeding behavior here. They spawn every month of the year, with the bulk of them doing a December, January, February run. But I just caught a female, a 10 yesterday, and I put her on the board to take pictures, and I pushed on her stomach a little to get her straight on the board, and she shot some eggs out. I was like, oh, geez, July? Okay.
Are those like 22-inch fish? Is a 10-pounder a 22.5-inch fish up there, just for length to girth measurements for the kayakers in the group?
I've caught 10-pounders 22 to 27 here. I've got 27-inch skinny ones, and then I've caught 22s that are just absolute blimps and everything in between. And I think that disparity or variance is because the fish are all in different phases throughout the year. You've always got pre-spawners, you've got fish spawning all the time, and you've got post-spawners all the time. So you could catch a 24-inch fish that goes anywhere from 7 to 12. That's a reality at this lake, which is kind of a neat thing. And it makes the fishing easier because when all the fish are in a cute post-spawn window together, when those phases of pre-spawn, spawn, and post-spawn are synced, you get funky windows. But we don't have that because they're all staged and overlapping with fish in various stages. So like the fishing's solid year round here, which is something that is great. People can with confidence just pick the dates that work best for your schedule. Like it's that easy here. People ask the best time, and there really is no.
I will say
absolute
the groups,
best time.
Like in the BTL groups and the stuff in the past, especially last year, you'll have guys who go out in their first day and a half, have 2 10s, 3 8s, have set their personal best 6 times. Then there'll be 1 or 2 guys in the group who are like 2.5 days in and haven't caught one over 8.5 or haven't caught one over 8. And they're like, oh man. And then they come back from like an afternoon session and they're like, oh my God, I caught a 10.50, 3 over 8. And it like one afternoon can change the entire trip. I'm sure you see that every single week. The guys who are flying high coming in for lunch with PBs, and then the other guys are kind of quiet. And then 2-3 days in, they come in and they're like, oh, it happened to me today.
Yeah. I think sticking with it, knowing that your turn is coming, and the fish gods have a sense of humor. This isn't fair. We've all seen it. You can work your butt off and get rewarded. You can work your butt off and all you get is the opportunity. But they're in here. There's an abundance of trophy class fish, and that's something you see a lot of. I can't tell you how many times I've had a talk or a call from a guy and I'm just, not catching him. What should I do? And then the next day he calls me and we're best friends and he caught that fish he was after. So I think just positive encouragement and preparation, right? Because you'll get a couple cracks at a big one at both lakes. You're going to, but you'd hate to have your line break because you didn't retie, or those small things that are prerequisites to success. Like you can't get so focused on the outcome that you forget all the small things that increase the odds of success.
Or hook the biggest fish you've ever hooked on a 2,500 and then realize that you have no torque on it. And you're just heel drag for 50 yards. And then you just put that spinning reel in the room for the rest of the trip and throw the big spool 300, 3,000 size. Stuff like that, Josh. Is that kind of what you're talking about?
Exactly. I'm impressed at how big a fish you catch on a spinning rod. I really, really am. What does it feel like to have caught your PB on a spinning rod?
I've caught over the last 4 years, Josh, I've caught 95% of my fish over 8 pounds, regardless of where I am on a spinning rod.
Impressive.
But here's why I'm comfortable with it, because I've been to El Salto and I've been to Baccarac, and you can do that multiple times over the day, and you can understand what the stuff can take. Plus you have really good rods down there. Like, I bring high end reels down there, and you have some reels if people want to rent them and stuff, but you have really good rods for it too. So you don't have to bring your own rods. So you have the rods that can handle it. But like, I have told like my buddies who like fish professionally, like top, you'd be shocked at the top guys that call and say like, hey, I want to go down to Mexico with you. And I'm like, it's the same reason I think why Kelly Jordan and Ish Monroe and those guys caught so many big fish, in the Elite Series in the early days. Was what Kelly guided on Lake Fork, and he was used to 7, 8, 9, 10 pounders coming up on a spoon or on a big worm or something. And he didn't just lose his damn mind, and he knew when it dug what to do, and he knew how to keep it hooked. When you're bowing up on legitimately 36 plus pounders a day, you can be like, okay, on a 12-pound leader, let's just give it the beans and see what happens. Can I straighten a hook?
Yeah.
Can I stop it if it's going into a tree and I would normally go, whoa, like how much pressure can you put on it? What's the best way to keep them hooked up? That's where I think I've gotten so much but it's fun. Like, there's always, you get anything over 7, there are moments of zero control. But that's like what keeps you alive, man. That's like why people get on roller coasters. They know there's going to be that split second where they regret it, and that's what they live for. That's like the big ones on a spinning rod. You have that moment. Doesn't matter, open water, around timber, anywhere. Like, you have that moment where you're like, I am so outmatched, and then you get it under control, and that's where the magic is. You're still throwing a lot of stuff on a bait caster, though. I know you are.
I do. I was genuinely impressed spending some time on a boat with you, and the casting accuracy with a spinning rod. I'm far more accurate with a bait caster, especially when scanning at a very high speed. So and learned a few tips and tricks. It was nice spending some time on a boat with you, watching you fish a minnow. It was impressive, and I think you highlighted on something, and I think about that a lot from the lure perspective. Mexico is a great place to learn how to land trophy fish and how to work different lures and gain confidence and how the action and what's going to trick a fish and how to land them on a treble hook versus a jig hook. But it goes beyond that. It's to the line diameter, how much tension can you put on the rod action. You can really polish up all those different domains of fishing and get the time interval between opportunities is so short with big fish. You know, a 5-pounder is a big fish in the US. You can win a lot of money. You catch 5.5s around the country. You come here, that's a pretty common fish to hook. So you have a lot of opportunities to kind of to dial in your game with all those different variables and types of gear. That's a good point.
Especially like if you want to get into the glide bait game, like El Salto, if you want to get into a big soft swim bait, if you want to just like it's a really badass lake to like bring, like don't bring a ton, but like bring one or two of the things that you're weak in. And then, you know, as the week progresses and you're like, okay, this is absolutely insane. You're like, all right, this afternoon session, I'm going to go out and I'm going to glide. And even if you're not familiar with it, I mean, you're on a fishery where you're going to catch them on it.
Yeah, it is. It's one of the best big fish shallow lakes. Like if you're a guy who likes to chuck at the bank and throw at visual structure, I think it's maybe the best lake in the world for catching, like you said, 35 to 40 pound bags.
El Salto, yeah.
Multiple times a day. Top water. You know, Baccarac, this one's a little trickier. She's a little more offshore, a little deeper. You might have a day where you got an 11, but the rest of your fish clock in at 5, 6, you know, versus Salto, you might have caught 30 fish over 7 pounds. I'm not exaggerating, you know, but maybe didn't get into the double digits. That tier of 6 to 8 is so solid, readily accessible, and willing to chew at Lake El Salto that it's
Did you notice when we went out on El Salto?
Love El Salto.
Are those mega schools of 3 to 4 pounders still out there to where it's literally as many casts until you like look at your guide and you're like, okay, that was fun. Let's go catch a bigger. I mean, are those still here? Yeah,
I found a lot of fish grouped up by class. You know, you get on some of those submerged points and there's some little humps near that El Salto sign that just load up and you hit it with a jig from one angle and you catch 30 fish, me and Juan, like literally 30 fish on the same cast within 5 feet. And then they slow down, but they're all 3 to 4 pounds. And then you circle the boat around and hit it from another angle and switch to a spoon and you catch another dozen. They're just, the population density is so high of these fish in these areas. And sometimes you're on a trail where they're using it, and other times there's just that many in that one spot. But they do seem to congregate and group up by class a lot at that lake, which is fun. So you can wear them out in one area, and then sometimes you get into another class and you're just catching 7, 8 pounders repeatedly on the same lure in the same area with the same cast, and it's just something that you don't really experience anywhere else.
No, I've never had a place where you take, I mean, like just this one here, but like if you were to just take like that on El Salto, that would maybe last 3 fish before either one split ring was gone or your hooks were like putty. Like it's the only place I've ever been where I legitimately go like 3x trebles on the spook, and you'll still have like an 8 pounder that a 6 pounder eats it at the same time, and one rips the split ring off the bed. I mean, it's the top water fishing on also. I don't know if it ever gets that good on Baccarac. It was okay for one of the mornings when we were there on Baccarac. Like we did like 30 on a pop bar. Like I know I've got them here just because they're all that, but you've got those the Ricos like in the 2.
Oh yeah, thanks for showing that.
Those 2 only colors
with Lobina lures.
Yeah, that you can get at the when you go to Baccarac there or at the Bassmaster Classic. But I've never seen fish rip apart baits, like rip apart big, like saltwater spooks like they do it. Also, like I had one, I remember with Darren, like shark it in like 3 foot of water, got the front treble hook stuck in a piece of wood that it was right next to, and then it popped off, and I was like, oh, it came off, and my spook was stuck in it, and it had literally ripped the split ring off the back treble hook when it stopped. Like that's a lot of momentum.
Yeah, I do think that there's something with the warmer water too that makes them fight harder pound for pound. Do you feel that way? I've caught some fish that fight hard. Smallmouth are legendary for how hard they fight, but like pound for pound, some of these Mexico bass just they give it their all. They
The
really
two and
do.
a half to 4 pounders to me fight harder than like the 8 to 10s. Like you can,
Yeah.
like the first 2 days you're there, you're like calling for the net constantly, and then it comes up, and you're like, just kidding.
Yeah, yeah. That's a real thing. We have a joke here that the guides say. They say, "Was it a liar fish? Like the fish lie and say it was bigger, or are you an old man?" That's a joke.
Mhm.
Liar fish or old man? Because you
And
call for the net on fish that you might not have back home. The head shakes is the key. I don't pay attention to the pull or the weight. It's all about the speed of the pulse that gives away the size of the fish.
and on
to me.
scope, if you think it's two, the only way I could tell was if it looked like a ball of shad, like a good sized ball of shad with something chasing it, like slowly right behind it, that was the torso of the bass with its tail slowly move. Like I saw that 3 or 4 times, and I was like, what is going on there? And then it all moved as one, and you're like, oh my God.
Yeah. It's this has been an interesting week in that they're all sleeping. They're not swimming in, they're not swimming out. I've just been fishing in the afternoons because I'm working in the morning, but I go out and there's just blobs everywhere. Sometimes two of them together, and then you'll be like, one's a little bigger than the other, right? And then the small one eats it and she's 8.5, and you're like, well, how big was the other one, the other one that I presented to? So sometimes you see them paddling in, sometimes they're swimming out, sometimes you got the little Christmas tree ornaments in the trees, blobs everywhere. And then it's neat. These fish have never been targeted. This is a unique, special window of time in which we have a competitive edge. We've got technology nobody else does. If you got the skills to operate that technology, or you want a place where you can practice and get better, and get a lot of intervals and practice in a short period of time, come down. These offshore fish have not been targeted. They're pretty darn dumb, and they're big, and there's a lot of them.
Logistically, then on Baccarac, you have a set of what do you call those, tongas, or the boats that don't have the live scope directly up front, but the guides have the ability to have it on a turret. If the live scope isn't exactly your thing, you don't want to do that. You don't have to do that. You can rent those, but then for a little bit more, for additional fee, because you're in it for the money and for the electronics and all that. Fiberglass bass boat, either a Lowrance or a Minn Kota Ultrex up front with either active target or Garmin live scope, and you can run it, or you can still pay more for that and then have your guide run it off of that. You can scope for mornings, you can not scope, you can do whatever the hell you want basically. But those are the main thing on Baccarac, and I don't know if it's the same on El Salto with you this year too, is if you have a group that wants to come down, drag, topwater, swim bait, glide, do that, not scope, you can do that. You can get the tongas, different boats, or you can have the bass boat with the style on it with the fiber. I mean, it's basically like your bass boat at home. You're talking, you got some Rangers, you got Champions, stuff like that.
You summarized it perfectly. When I first bought the company, we had a fleet. They were all Pongas, which are made of wood, so they're super stable. They don't blow in the wind. They got 2 trolling motors, a Tarova in the front for spot lock. But you know how it is in the wind. The wind picks up, the boat always aims in the wind. So there's a second trolling motor on the back where the guide is, and that's a handheld tiller. So they can broadside you in the wind in a way you can't on a boat. So the Pongas are actually pretty maneuverable. They have a 12-inch Garmin on the side, and then they have live scope on a turret. So you could commandeer that and use it, but it's positioned so that the anglers fish in a tandem, one in front, one in the middle, and guide in the back. And it's between the guide and the rear angler. So the guide could use it to get information on where's that offshore hump and cast over there. Maybe we should leave. I don't see him here. There's a lot of information you can get from it, just structure scanning. Or the rear angler could use it if he wanted to. Now, for the guys who are really proficient with scope, and I think the max potential of this technology lies in controlling it with your foot, because your hand's free, and then you can manipulate a bait and track fish and pulse and maneuver the boat and follow fish. If you're into that, then that's when the premium bass boat package would be ideal. And they've all got an Ultrex. Some of them have the Quest. I just wanted to keep it uniform. And then you have your choice of Garmin 8616. Some have the 8617. And then Lowrance HDS Pro 16s. They got 16s. And a lot of them have 12s or 9s at the console, down scan, side scan, active target 2, live scope plus. You can kind of take your pick of what you'd want to do. Now, Lake El Salto, when I purchased it, all had fiberglass boats. So it's just one streamlined package. Every boat's got the Ultrex. Every boat's got a 12 up front. Most of them are Garmin. There's a couple Lorentzes for the weirdos like me who like Active Target.
Hey, I'm coming around on it. I've been in the boat. I was in the boat with Lucas last month. I've been in it a couple. I'm like, okay, like I can see some advantages here. I'm equal opportunity. I'm coming. I'm turned. I mean, I'm not fully, but I'm like the wheel's starting to maybe turn a little bit.
It's Ford Chevy for me. Give me either one. I'm gonna catch them. At El Salto, every boat's got it. There's no premium package. It's all the same. It's got a 12-inch unit in the front. It's got a 9-wood down inside. They're networked. If you don't want to put your foot on the trolling motor, the guide's in the middle. So you have the front deck and the rear to yourself, using that unit to control, using the control to the remote to control the Ultrex without having his foot on the pedal and being up there in your space. Some of the guys at boats at operations at El Salto, they run only pedal control. So the guide's up there sitting on a cooler and you're fishing over his back, crowding the front deck. We just wanted Ultrexes are better. He can be out of the way, use a remote, and then he's networking with the front unit, looking at his unit there at the console, and he can look and say, "Oh, I actually see one," and cast in front of the trolling motor, and he can actually almost guide you scoping from back there in a sense. So if you want to put your foot on a trolling motor and pick it apart, which is more and more of us like that who just really enjoy using this technology, that's available at both lakes.
We're doing 2 trips. I think that's the Baccarac trip. The El Salto trip, did you say like already a waiting list for the BTL trip?
Yeah, it is.
December 9th through 15th.
Sold out, full house. Yeah, we're booked full. I have deposits. There's 2 guys. Hey, if you're watching this, pay your deposit because there's a waiting list started. So deposits from everyone, only 2 spots, but the guys are committed. I'm just waiting on their deposits. So that trip's full. But there is a chance of cancellation. Okay. Life happens. Kids get engaged. People get, think life happens. So people could drop out. It's worth it to get on the waiting list if you'd really like to join us, because a group of 20-some people, someone's going to drop out.
If you don't have an active passport and planning on wanting to get down here, like now is a good time to get that. Yeah. Like a passport is not like a weekend thing. Like I get way too many people that are like, I was going to get the I'm like, yeah, like, that takes a while, folks. Like long time to get that passport. Like you can't just get there with the driver's license.
You need the book, not just the card. You need the passport books, but they're good for 10 years. And I think they're $100. So it's not a bad thing to have. And even to fly domestically in the US now, you need that real ID or a passport. So if you don't have a passport,
got my real ID
get a passport. Everybody should have a passport. If you qualify to have one, get one.
I got a what did I get? I've got that one for that like lets you go through customs super fast. What's
global entry?
Yeah, I got global entry.
Yeah,
that's the deal right there. It helps to have a wife who's a long time,
and that speeds you up coming back into DFW. That really speeds things up. And then I think that comes with the domestic TSA pre-check too.
Yep.
So you don't have to take your shoes off. You don't have to take your computer out and keep your belt on. Quick. Yep.
Phenomenal.
Super convenient.
Now there are trips. So Lake Baccarac is a day longer, January 10th through 17th, 2027. Yep. So I'm going to El Salto and coming home, celebrating Christmas, and then turning around and going to Baccarac. I'm not going to lie. There are perks to the gig, and this is one of those perks. And I'm excited to, well, that'll be 6-5. That'll be like 12 days between El Salto and Baccarac.
Oh man, what is
fishing?
What's the big fish count going to be? How many did you catch last time here?
I think I caught 6.
6 double digits.
6 over 10, and that counts. And you will vouch on this. That counts when I caught the 10, and then just let Juice up front to try to get his big one out of the way. So I spent one whole afternoon just watching Juice try to catch his 10.
You were Juice's net man. Yeah.
Which he did, and then we jumped around and bounced around in different boats, which I plan on doing a lot more this year too.
Yeah,
that's kind of the cool thing.
Pretty good foot. He's pretty stable.
I give him a lot of crap, but he can handle himself in a boat pretty well.
He's got it. Yeah, he's got it.
Yeah.
So I'll even have a boat with Garmin for you to use.
Okay.
I'll
But
have
that one, there
ready
are
for you.
spots available for that Baccarac trip, the 10th through the 17th still.
Yeah, plenty. And it's not that it's a less popular trip or
It's a
destination. It's just
huge lodge.
I have a big facility here. Yeah, I've got a lot of boats. I've got a lot of room. So there's still quite a few spots left on that one. If you're interested, give me a call, 425-345-8891. I can give you all the details, travel recommendations, packing lists. We include the rods, the foods are great, beer and margaritas, and it's just a whole lot of fun. I think it's a good atmosphere to meet a lot of cool people. Like a lot of people made friends on this last trip with you. There's guys
Yeah, I
I
think they're
talk with
coming
still
back
once a
too.
week. Yeah.
Yeah. I'd chat with quite a few of the guys too.
Yeah, build a cool network of awesome folks and
Yeah, we had
meet some neat
Canadians,
like-minded
East
people.
Coast, West Coast. We had people all over the map.
Yeah, it was a treat. That's one of the
So,
best things about the whole gig is all the people we get to meet.
yeah,
It's
guys
a
who
lot
had
of fun.
scoped. We had multiple guys who had never scoped who ended up catching double digits or fish over 9 on scope for the very first
Yeah.
time. Guys caught 10s
Yeah.
dragging. It was a good show. I'm not gonna lie though, Josh. I'm very interested to see what El Salto is like after no pressure and kind of the trajectory that it was on. Like Baccarac is freaky because anytime you launch your boat, legitimate chance at a 12 plus. Now,
Yep.
a 12 plus is still rare. A 10 plus is still rare. Like 1 10-pounder when you think about it, but your perception gets so skewed so quickly down there. Like it'll jump and you'll be like, it's an 8. Whereas the first 2 days you're like, oh my god, it's an 8. Big difference between oh my god, it's an 8 and it's an 8.
Yeah.
I'm curious once you really get some boats out there and start looking like, is it going to be like, my God, the number of 8 to 9.5 pounders in El Salto is through the freaking roof.
I have high expectations. I choose my words very carefully and I'm precise with my speech, but I don't ever want to oversell or over promise, but I would not be surprised if it outproduces Baccarac for a window of time with the trophy class fish. I wouldn't.
Mm-hmm.
I know the lake has the potential. It's got the same genetics. It was stocked from Baccarac to that lake, so the fish can potentially get as big. It's just an
Were the shad
environmental
stocked
thing.
at the same time then, or did those come after? Because that was the one thing I was not expecting. I know there's like cichlids or cichlids that are more in El Salto than they are in Baccarac, but like the actual like schools of like threadfin, not gizzard shad, like threadfin shad that act like they do in Grand Lake was not something I was expecting.
I don't know the history of the shad, if they're indigenous, if they were introduced, if they just washed into the river. The cichlids are one difference. Salto has cichlids, Baccarac doesn't. And then the carp are different. Baccarac has carp and Salto doesn't.
Several
but
carp,
outside
not a
of
whole
that,
bunch.
Yeah, there's quite a few. Outside of that, and then there's one little minnow I haven't identified. It looks like a silver side or like a smelt almost, like a little, I know it's not that in El Salto, little skinny pencil-like guys all over in the shallows. But outside of that, they're pretty identical with the fish that are present.
Mm-hmm. And that's also why
lake,
3 to 4.5, 5-inch baits also work for big
it's
fish.
It's going to be great at Lake El
almost
Salto.
as well
we
as
know
giant
it.
baits.
Yeah.
You can't oversell. Cool like thing. I said, you can't oversell. You would rather under promise and over deliver than over promise, and then have. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, I think
it picks up right where it left off, and the ceiling is even higher than it's ever been. And for like big fish fishery, there's a lot of swim baiters that like Baccarac, and it's a great lake for that. Don't get me wrong. I've caught a lot of big fish here on swim baits, but man, if you want to throw chopped glides and like bull shad, multi-jointed swimmers, Salto's a fantastic lake to just chuck and wind at a bank, put your foot on the trolling motor, and power fish. Where you're throwing a magnum crankbait or glide bait and you just want to hit the little pockets and fish fast and hard, that's not Baccarac. That's El Salto is the atmosphere for that. So if you're into those big baits, like bring up Kevin Rogers again. He was throwing that hinkle shad. Did you see it at the end of his trip? It was completely beat up. He caught I don't remember the numbers, but it was like 70 or something, 7 to 8 pounders in a very short period of time on a hinkle shad. I mean, where else in the world are you going to be able to do that? El Salto. That's
I
the
haven't
place.
gotten on the one thing that I brought is like the 810 XDs, the 6 cents, the big cranks like that. And I just think it's because December, January, when they're there, like you said, that's a prime spawning time. A lot of fish are moving up shallow. They're not really on that offshore stuff. I haven't gotten on like the deep crank stuff where you're like burn an 8XD down, hit the rock, and it just loads up.
Yeah.
Haven't got on a big crank bite yet on either of those in the 4 or 5 times I've been down there. So that's on the to-do list. But then every time you throw it, you get 3 casts in and you're like, damn, this is way too much work.
If you enjoy it, do it. I don't know that they're just so willing at El Salto. Bring your confidence in what you're good at, then also bring what you want to improve at if you're at a stage in your fishing journey where that's something that's important to you. And you're going to catch them. Those fish are just not picky. They're overly aggressive, you know. They'll fight over your bait. You'll catch a fish and reel it in, and there's 5 more right behind it trying to take the lure out of its mouth. It's just a unique fishery.
And if the BTL dates don't work, like I said, I know the El Salto's full or whatever, you want to put a group together, check it out. Like that's the contact info out there. It's just probassadventures@gmail.com. Email Josh. Josh is up at 3 a.m. every single morning, sitting outside with a Starlink, responding to emails and talking with people and stuff. So he'll kind of let you know what's up as far as that. I know I've had quite a few emails from guys who are like, hey, wasn't able to go to the BTL group, went down since then, or went around that, or went with one of your other groups. I know, like you said, you have a lot of other bait companies and things you put together, kind of groups of guys that go down there. So you don't have to just go with the BTL group. You can go and kind of tailor it to the time of the year and kind of what you want it to be with your group.
Yeah, you can. We generally have like a 2 angler minimum per group for open calendar reservations, but I get a lot of solo guys who are retired, or they have maybe more resources or a more free schedule than their buddies, and they just want to come down and fish. So we do host solo guys. Sometimes I can pair them up with other anglers or groups such as yours, or find times a year where it's a capacity thing. Everything's double occupancy, rooms and boats, but I have times where we're less busy, and if those solo guys are flexible and can wait till we get a little closer to the dates, and I can make sure I have some open rooms and I'm not losing capacity, I do my best to work them in. And a lot of solo guys become some of our best customers. So whether you're solo or you have a group that wants to fish with us, or you want to learn more about fishing in Mexico, what it's like, expectations, travel, give me a call anytime. I love talking about fishing. I could do this all day, every day. I do.
I'll keep you like 5 more minutes then, just to prove that. I'm just curious.
I'm going fishing after.
I know you're obviously going to have a little bit of bias towards Baccarac and El Salto as well. But are there any other, like, how many other, I guess, trophy bass lakes are there in Mexico? Like, those are the 2 that you always hear about. And then I feel like there's been some that like come and go and stuff. I mean, are there any other
great
crazy ones that are going right now?
Historically, there's 2 others that really come to mind. One's Guerrero, which you've probably heard of. That one had a heyday, peak, kind of fell. And there's another one called Comadero that's near El Salto, north of El Salto.
I've heard of that.
That one peaked in a way that rivaled Baccarac, but it was like the Bo Jackson of Mexico bass fishing. It had a really short period of incredible production, and then it fell off. Poor management. It wasn't managed like Baccarac, right? All those programs we were talking about, only netting at night and releasing the big ones, they didn't have that management, and the lake collapsed and hasn't been open for years. So currently, in the current landscape, Baccarac and El Salto are king and queen, without a doubt, when it comes to giant fish. El Salto is a little more popular because it's easier to reach and easier to fish. Baccarac's king of the double digits. It has been for decades and will continue to be. There's some numbers lakes that are phenomenal. One that comes to mind is called Pacachos. I don't have a presence there. Our entity is strictly focused on trophy class fish, so we passed up the opportunity to operate there years ago. But it's a great numbers lake. You can catch 100 fish a day on a rattle trap or an A-rig or whatever you want. They're not hard to catch, but a 6-pounder is big there. A lot of people go there. They don't break 4, 5, maybe 7, 8. It's just the scale is dramatically lower on the high end. I think it's just a very crowded or highly populated lake. So that population density gives increased aggression, but it comes at the cost of decreased size because of the increased competition. Border lakes, Falcon, Sugar still have some big fish, there. Um, Not the easiest to reach sometimes. And then those lakes, they fluctuate a lot as far as water levels. There was a really big one that came out of Sugar a few years ago, 15. So those lakes come to mind. But outside of those, um, Baccarac and El Salto are just on a level all of their own and have been for decades. They've just produced and produced and produced. And I think it's because there's a limited number of permit operators. There's just not going to give out more licenses. There's not much pressure. The most this lake ever really has is 40 boats on the water at a time. And in a 30,000 acre lake, it's just nothing compared to the United States boat per acre and what a weekend could look like with 2 tournaments going on a lake back home in the US, especially in Arizona where I live, smaller lakes and just tons of fishermen and pleasure boaters and just traffic. The pressure's not a real thing here. And then with the monsoon season, they all get 60 to 90. Like we've been the only lodge open for a month and a half here, so we've had the lake to ourselves. There's just a great reset annually over the summer of 60 to 90 days of just no real pressure at all. And when there is pressure, it's minimal. So I think it's just a great recipe for success at these 2 lakes that make it unique.
So when I went to Chichillo a year and a half ago, or El Chichillo, it to me felt more like a tournament lake. Like, yeah, I caught 1 10-pounder there, but I follow a bunch of those guys now too, from like the Mexican bass, and they always have like tournaments on Chichillo. Do they ever have like Mexico bass tournaments? Like there's bass sanctioned events and stuff. Do those ever go to El Salto or Baccarac or anything? Like, are there ever, like we would do that. You'd have a club that would be like, like the Assumption Bass Club, like once a year would go to like Kentucky Lake. Like that was their big trip. Like, do you ever have like a 15 boat bass sanctioned Mexico tournament where guys show up and fish?
There are some Mexican entities that coordinate an event like that at El Salto over the years. Not really American or lodge related, just anglers that do that of 15 to 20 boats, pretty informal. Not a whole lot, but El Salto is a location to that just because of its proximity and ease of access.
I guess
we're so remote here that our tournament's really the only one on the lake outside of a kayak tournament they hold every summer.
Oh yeah, that was going on. There was a little kayak tournament when we were here last time.
Yeah, they're doing it in the winter now too, but it's just a little kayak derb, and they all stay kind of close in one cove together. And those are mostly pretty local people. I don't think they travel too far for that. Cuchillo's good proximity. A lot of people like to fish there. It does have some big fish. There's a strong presence of Mexican bass anglers, and it's getting more and more. Bass fishing is getting more popular with Mexicans, and then access to boats to go beyond just shore fishing. There's some really wealthy Mexicans that the bar for entry, they've got it. There's a sleeper lake. I'm not going to say the name of it. I've got a buddy named Josh who lives out in San Diego and down somewhere near Tijuana. He's caught 14s and some really big bass out of its real small lake over on the West Coast. But as far as something that can withhold tourism and visit, Baccarac and Salto are king and queen, and I do not see that changing anytime in the future. They got them.
Questions about trip, going down to it, probasadventures@gmail.com. Appreciate our relationship that we have. Like I said, if you want to be a part of it, have at it. If you just want to learn about it as maybe a destination trip, something in the future, there you go.
I'm gonna go catch a double digit with my
afro on. It's gotta be so hot. It's gotta be what is the temperature like there now?
Today's not bad. It's about 91, 92. I got a little breeze behind me.
Oh, that's not horrible.
Yeah. Go catch a double digit.
Leave anything out there? That's badass. I'm excited for it. I'm excited to see El Salto show out this fall and this winter.
Me too. I'm pumped. And it's just for the anglers who want to go there and experience it. It's for our awesome staff, and we rotated a lot of them to Baccarac to get them work. And it's for the whole community in that area. The whole kind of economic landscape collapsed when the lake closed. There was bit of poverty, people left, and now to see people back in the area, the shops and stores open, people on their front porch playing cards, like the community's back to life. The area needed it. They're great people. So I am excited and enthused to be a part of that whole tourism and how that contributes to the well-being of the region. And I'm pumped for our employees and our clients and our prospects to come check out what we've built. And what a cool just experience it is to fish Lake El Salto.
Last question. It had been a while. Is there still a Blanco at El Salto?
Yeah, I gave him a great love session about a week ago. He's still with
Blanco,
us. He is
the pup.
Yep, I didn't even finish my ribeye. I gave him the last of it. He didn't even chew it. He swallowed the whole dang thing full. He did. So Blanco's still there. We still got the whole staff. Everybody's coming back, which is super exciting. All the guides. We have a killer guide team, but we recently acquired some more guides. There's an outfitter that went out of business during this whole shutdown, and we hired their top guides. So our already tier of guide teams is like, I'm so confident in this team of studs at El Salto. I really, really am. I truly believe we have the best fishing guide teams in Mexico on both lakes for sure.
Very cool. You can get online. There's guys who have done videos and stuff like that on YouTube. You can check out my Instagram. There's all sorts of photos and stuff on the Pro Bass Adventures website. If you want to get a taste of it, if you have any kind of general questions or anything, like I said, you can either message Josh. I get a lot of people who message me about it too. And I kind of walk them through on what you don't need to bring, because I would say by far 99% of people bring too much, me included. The first 2 or 3 times I came, it's the biggest FOMO packing job ever.
Yeah, that's true.
When you come down, but
huge tackle shop at Baccarac Salto. I don't have it set up yet. I hope to have that done in the coming months, but we have that resource there. Rods are, of course, included. That makes packing a little bit easier.
The Baccarac tackle shop, I'm not kidding. There were more guys that were buying stuff there that they couldn't get in the United States to fish United States, and were not even fishing with it on Baccarac. They were taking it back to tournament fish with in the United States, as far as like the baits and the flat, like all sorts of the swim bait stuff that they're like, oh, you can't get any of this stuff, and it's hanging on the pegs. They're spending a couple $100 on stuff to take back to the United States to fish with.
So true. We maybe went a little overboard with the tackle shop, but luck favors the prepared. So we've got swim baits, we got unique glide baits. Even like I had some OSP, tons of their crankbaits, and there were some colors that guys couldn't find, and I didn't realize it. They're collector's colors, and I had them in here selling them for retail, and they bought the entire stash of OSP crankbaits, and I was clueless. I'm like, why'd you guys buy all these? They're like, oh, because we can sell them on eBay for 3 times as much as
I like pay for the trip. All right, last thing. I'm going to be able to clip this out then. So you're headed to the water for an afternoon session.
Yeah.
You've got all the bubbas.
I do.
They're loaded up. They're ready to go.
Yep.
Right now. I want pounds and ounces of your biggest bass for this afternoon session. We'll clip this. We'll put it. We'll show it on what it is. What is your guess for the afternoon of July 14th, 2026? It's what, 11:24 there now.
I'll go with a big of 10-2. And 4 more over 8. Yeah. I feel confident in that. I caught a 10 yesterday, 2 10s the day before, and 3 to 4 hour sessions. So I'll shoot for 2 over 10. But I think I got 1 for sure.
10-2. That's your call.
That's gonna be my big. Yeah. Why stop there? Who knows? Just like you never know with this. Like that's the cool thing. Yeah. And it's neat. It's so satisfying. Like I'll work my butt off and then be like, all right, I got 3 hours. Let's go make it happen. And a lot of times you can make it come together in a short period of time. There's many fish.
Bassmaster just came out with their top 100 lakes in the United States. I would like to see a top 100 lakes in the world for bass. Let's throw in Mexico. Let's throw in South Africa. Let's throw in Japan. Let's throw in what? Yeah,
they
Canada.
Need to do that. And it's tough because Mexico, this isn't Bassmasters tournament, right? And this is we have tournaments here. Tournament anglers love it. This is a trophy, big fish atmosphere. So I would love to see where they put us.
South Africa, so a Simcoe, throw the United States in there too, do a top 10 worldwide destination.
It's easy that both of these lakes are top 10 globally. It's all about how you define best, right? But uh, daily 35 to 40 pound bags, variety of skill sets, people having success, consistency, just over aggressive fish, high ceiling for double digit count. I think they have to be perennially top 10 in the world. I won't say number one. To me, I think Baccarac for big fish is outside of some of the Texas live scope lakes. Of course, Ivy, JB, Clear Lake, big three that jump out if we're talking big fish.
Yeah.
But if the technology was here, is in abundance, in skill using it, is a lot of those lakes, this lake would, think where that might lead. So,
dude, I'm doing a show on that. Like, I met some of those guys from South Africa. I've got the Japan connection. I was over there for Sunline. I know all the Canadians, not all of them, a lot of them.
Yeah.
I got you down in Mexico. I'm doing the top 10 live scopers in the world show here in the next month with Jody White and Ben Milliken of the top 10 live scopers going in the world right now. I think I need to do top 10 bass lakes in the world, bring in some experts from all around. That would be a badass show, Josh.
We can all bring a presentation. Question, what top 10 live scopers, is that tournament?
Yeah, that's tournament.
Are we mixing in trophy guys too?
No. That's BPT, Elite Series, Pro Circuit.
I think you got to do
Open.
two divisions. Tournament guys, trophy guys.
Yeah, we could do two shows on that.
And I know your audience is mostly trophy, tournament. But give the trophy guys, give us some love too.
Okay, we could. I would have to. I would have to think of getting a whole nother panel to judge that, because I'm not definitely in that as much. Like, every time I hang out with you, you hear about some different guys, and there's some trophy guys. But we're talking like the Bank Shaws and the Drew Gills and the Nut Brothers and that type of stuff going right now. It'll be a good one, because I think last year's list included like a Jason Christie and stuff like that. There were some guys that like didn't make the list that like maybe perhaps won Bassmaster Classics and have won like 5 tournaments this year already, and then the Urchin wasn't in the mix last year either. So it'll be curious to see if that brings some more guys in.
I'm glad and impressed that you're willing to go for it, and because that's a tough list to put on. No matter how you rank them, somebody's fallen at 12, 13, 14 that on another guy's list could be 4, 5, or 6. There's that many really good scopers in BASS.
But a top 10 global Bass Lakes list, and it might have been done, I just haven't kept up with it or something. But like a current right now, bringing in guys from, it might have to be a recorded show just because of time zones and things like that. But I think that would be a bucket list deal right there, man. That would be a bucket list.
I'd love to be a part of that. That sounds like something awesome.
And
I'd love to hear experience
too. Hopefully you undershot it and you catch one and you're like, damn, I wish I had looked like a hero and said 12-11.
This next one's for you, my friend.
All right,
thanks for having me on again. Thanks, everybody.
All right, see ya. All right, there you go, Josh Jaders, Pro Bass Adventures. Like I said, just to make sure that was not a backdrop, that was actually him on Baccarac, and then he'll take the van down and be hopping out and casting at giant ones. That's all we got for today. Like I said, stay tuned. We will be doing sorry about that. We'll be doing iCast shows from the iCast floor of everything that's coming out in 2026, and then show 250 with Frank Scalish on Thursday. Till then, we'll talk to everyone later. See ya.